I tell people taking supplements are like listening to individual soloists, which can be fine. However, you don't get the synergies that you get from an orchestra, like the Boston Symphony Orchestra, where I used to live. Algae gives you the orchestra, all the harmonies, all the synergies, all the up-leveling, all the cross-up-leveling, whether it's with enzymes or coenzymes or factors or cofactors, they're all there. So it's much more efficient nutrition than taking individual supplements. So, and for $1 a day, you'll get what you need. And if you have a health condition, as I said, we encourage you to take 30. But remember, this is food. It's not a drug. It's not prescription. It's not a supplement.
Welcome to Get Yourself Optimized, a podcast full of secret knowledge that will enable you to reboot and 10x your life. I'm your host, Stephan Spencer, author, speaker, online marketer, serial entrepreneur, coach, and a real geek when it comes to biohacking, life hacking, and lifestyle design. Catharine Arnston, my guest on today's show, became known as the Algae Lady after discovering that Spirulina and Chlorella could revolutionize human health at the mitochondrial level. With over 15 years of research into these ancient superfoods, she founded Energy Bits to provide medical-grade algae that preserves crucial nutrients like superoxide dismutase, which your body mostly stops producing after age 40. In our conversation, we explore how mitochondrial damage drives aging and disease, and why the electron transport chain becomes less efficient over time. Catharine explains the science behind powerful compounds found in properly processed spirulina that can repair cellular damage and eliminate unhealthy cells. We cover practical protocols for using algae before and after, biohacking sessions, cold plunges, and workouts to maximize cellular energy production. Catharine shares from remarkable recovery stories involving Alzheimer's, cancer, and chronic fatigue in elderly patients. Catharine explains the key differences between spirulina and chlorella and why growing conditions matter. She reveals how her nutrient-dense tablets can replace multiple supplements while supporting detoxification and immune function. This episode just may revolutionize how you think about cellular energy and provide you with some powerful tools to restore your mitochondrial health. Disclaimers apply, consult your doctor, yada yada. And now, without any further ado, on with the show. Catharine, it's so great to have you on the show.
Thank you, Stephan. So glad to be here. This is going to be a really exciting ride for your community because they're going to learn things about algae, using algae nutrition for their wellness and longevity and brain health that they absolutely, I can promise, never knew. And the science has been there for almost 100 years. So I'm going to lift the lid and tell you all these great things that you need to know.
So first off, let's start with your origin story, because somehow you got like down the rabbit hole of algae and mitochondrial health and so forth. So what got you into it? Did you have some sort of health crisis or some sort of issue with a loved one that got you doing all this research?
Yes. And I think you'll find most people in the biohacking, wellness, longevity space had a personal experience. And then when trying to solve the issue, found that a solution was not acceptable or even available. And that's exactly what happened to me. I'm actually Canadian by birth, although I've lived in Boston, Massachusetts for 35 years. And I'm a recent transplant to Miami, where it's a lot warmer than Boston in the wintertime. But I mentioned the Canada thing because all my family's still in Canada. I did all my education in Canada. I have an MBA. I studied international business, nothing to do with nutrition. And then 17 years ago, my younger sister, who I'm very close to in Canada, developed breast cancer. But first of all, she completely healed. And we celebrate her being cancer-free every year. In fact, I just had a FaceTime with her yesterday, and we're getting the next girls trip organized. But as she was preparing for her chemotherapy, her oncologist, who is a cancer specialist, advised her she needed to change her diet to an alkaline diet because it would be important for her healing. Now, the oncologist, so this advice wasn't coming from her neighbor or her yoga instructor. It was coming from her oncologist, which is a cancer expert. So, but they didn't tell her exactly what a plant-based diet was or what exactly it did for her. So my baby sister called me, not that I knew anything about nutrition. Remember, I was an MBA and knew nothing about biochemistry. I know you have a master's in that. But I'm a very good researcher. In fact, I recently did get my PhD. So I said, I don't know what this stuff is, but I will find out. And I did. And you could too. You go online. And it turns out an alkaline diet was mostly a plant-based diet. And it turns out chlorophyll and phytonutrients that are found in plants have been documented for decades as ways to boost and improve and strengthen your immune system. So I think that was number one. Number two, I discovered that there was a German scientist by the name of Otto Warburg who won a Nobel Prize in the 30s for discovering that cancer, or frankly any disease, cancer cannot exist in cells if they are slightly alkaline. And so having an alkaline diet would help those cells keep the cancer from growing into the other cells. So I have to believe this is the other reason why sister's oncologist wanted her to have an alkaline diet. So I did the research for her, found foods, things to eat, not eat. She did go through chemo. She completely healed. But in the process, I started learning about plant-based nutrition, alkaline diets, discovered that algae was the most alkaline food in the world. And as I was teaching people on the importance of eating plant-based alkaline foods, I found out it was too hard for most people. They either didn't like vegetables, or it was too much work, or their kids and husbands wouldn't eat them, or they went bad too quickly, or they gave them gas. So when I found that algae was the most alkaline food in the world, 100,000 studies documenting all the health benefits of it. It's an agricultural crop in Asia that's a multi-billion-dollar agricultural crop. Yes, algae is a food, not a supplement. And that it's been endorsed by international agencies like NASA for 50 years. They say algae has 1,000 times more nutrition than any other food in the world. And the United Nations has endorsed it as the answer to world hunger because it has the highest protein in the world. But the best part of all is that this algae, which we grow ours in Taiwan, comes in tiny little tablets about the size of a baby aspirin. And each of these tablets has the same nutrition as an entire plate of vegetables. We recommend at least 10 of each tablets to start you off, 30 if you have a health condition. But now, most people, I will say, swallow the tablets. I like to chew them. Now you can have the nutrition of plants, all the alkalinity of plants, all the healing properties of plants without any work, any effort. You can swallow them, you can chew them, and you get it all instantly. And in seconds, no gas, no waste, and it replaces most of your other supplements. So when I discovered that algae came in these tablets, gave people the most concentrated nutrition in the world, all science documented, and the only problem with it was that A, people outside of Asia didn't know about it, and B, even if they knew about it, the quality that was available outside of Asia was low quality. So 15 years ago, I drew a line in the sand and decided I was going to bring algae to America, and I was going to give them a safe and pure version of it, and I was going to help people understand the science and how effortless it was to take, because this is good for your children, your pets, your teenagers, your grandparents, and it's effortless. So that's how I became the algae gal, which is my sort of moniker. And I like it because algae is for everyone, just like the girl next door is for everyone. Algae will change your life. That's not an empty promise. It will absolutely, absolutely simplify your life in terms of getting the nutrition that you need, and it will resolve or correct or prevent virtually any health condition that you encounter, particularly as you get into
So
your
what are
40s
some
and
of
50s.
the case studies or anecdotal stories that you can share with our listener about improvements in life and health that have occurred? And by the way, all disclaimers apply. This is not medical advice. Consult your doctor.
Well, maybe they're quite different. The benefits you get from we're going to talk about spirulina and chlorella, which are both microalgae. But first, I thought I'd give you a slight overview of algae in general, and then we'll get into the two different types of algae, microalgae, spirulina and chlorella, and then what they do, and then the anecdotal stories and the scientific papers. Because when you talk about 100,000 studies, that's a big number. So I can pull from just about anything. So to give you the sort of the high level overview, algae is its own food category. It's technically not a plant, and it's certainly not a fruit or an animal. And it was the first life on Earth almost 4 billion years ago, all documented in science. Now, there's two main categories of algae: macroalgae and microalgae. We're going to be talking about microalgae, but macroalgae, just to let you know, is that stringy stuff that you see washing up on shore, also known as seaweed or dulse or kelp. And it's still good for you because it has lots of fiber, has iodine because it's from the ocean, but has virtually zero nutrition. So high fiber, zero nutrition. Microalgae, which is what we're talking about today, is completely opposite. It either has zero fiber. Spirulina has zero fiber because it's actually a bacteria. It's not even a plant. Chlorella does have a bit of fiber, but it is the most nutrient dense food in the universe. Like I said, NASA says 1 gram of algae has 1,000 times more nutrition than any other fruit or vegetable. And unlike macroalgae, the seaweed stuff, which is only in the sea, which is why it's called seaweed, microalgae is everywhere. It's in the lakes, the rivers, the streams, your aquarium, the soil, and it's harvested as a food in Asia. So I'm going to show you these are pictures of algae farms. They're grown in fresh water. So yes, there's algae in the ocean, but whether you buy algae tablets from us or Target or Whole Foods, I can almost promise you 99% of it is grown in fresh water, not the ocean. This is a spirulina farm, and this is a chlorella farm. So you need to know that why is this important? Because your body recognizes food way better than it recognizes supplements. Supplements are made from extracts. They use high heat, and very often they're made of synthetics. So it's hard for your body to absorb that nutrition. Because algae is a food, your body recognizes it, and because spirulina in particular is a bacteria, no cellulose wall for your body to break down to get access to the nutrients, it's 99% bioavailable, and we can dig into that later on. So very concentrated food. Now, what we do, and most people do, is we take the algae that's grown in the water, then we dry it into a powder, and then we press them into tablets. Now, we call our tablets bits because they're bits of food. There's nothing else in there, just 100% spirulina or 100% chlorella. And we'll talk about later on what distinguishes us from other algae companies. But the main one is that we do not use high heat to dry it. And the reason why this is critical is because there are nutrients, when we talk about the mitochondria health, which we will in a few minutes, there are nutrients found in spirulina and chlorella, but mostly spirulina, that have been proven, tens of thousands of studies proven to reduce inflammation in the mitochondria, improve your ATP, reduce the chance of Alzheimer's, heart disease, cancer. These are proven studies. And yet this nutrient found in algae, which is called superoxide dismutase, is an enzyme. So if you dry enzymes with a temperature over 114, you deactivate it. So all the lesser expensive, lower quality algae, they cut corners to get to market, they use high heat. So it's like buying a car, a great car, getting a great deal on it, and you lift the hood and there's no engine. So it looks great, doesn't perform. Ours does. So I just want to give you that. So because people need to understand, growing algae isn't like growing tomatoes or broccoli. It's more like making wine. So the angle of the sun and the production processes are very, very critical to determine the value and the quality that you're getting. So back to those tablets, they're so concentrated that one tablet has the same nutrition as an entire plate of vegetables. It's almost a pound of vegetables. So those of you who either don't like vegetables, if you're traveling and you can't get vegetables, or they give you gas, or you find that you're throwing most of your vegetables out, I have the solution for you. It's algae tablets, because one tablet gives you the same nutrition as virtually a pound of those vegetables. So that's kind of like the background on.
Just a quick question on this for someone who's interested in getting their vegetable kind of nutrition from algae, because they're intrigued by what you're saying. What are they likely to spend in terms of like getting enough nutrients from the bits? Like, how much does that cost per day, for example?
Well, it's a great question. So we sell them in canisters and boxes of single pouches, but the best value are these large bags that have 1,000 tablets in them. Now, just using that quote from NASA, I determined that one bag of 1,000 tablets has the same nutrition as 551 pounds of vegetables. Put another way, that's about 30 grocery carts of vegetables right here in that bag. Now, we have a discount code for your listeners, Get Optimized. We'll talk about that later on at the end. A bag is usually $130. With your 20% off discount code, it brings it down to $104. And we recommend a starter dosage of 10 spirulina tablets. This is starter. There's no upper limit. We have NHL players that take 75 before each game. So, and I have plenty more than that myself. 30 tablets would be the therapeutic dose if you're trying to correct or prevent a health condition. But 10 tablets will get you started. Now, using your discount code, when you buy the large bag, 10 tablets cost you, drum roll, $1 a day. And a bag would last you 3 months. So very affordable nutrition. And it gives you 40 vitamins and minerals, the highest protein in the world, 3 times more than steak. It's 64% protein. Now, same with chlorella. It's 60% protein, and it has more chlorophyll. So this is really, it has 500 times more chlorophyll than even arugula, 25 times more than liquid chlorophyll. And it still has 40 vitamins and minerals, but they behave differently in your body. And we'll go through those differences. But very affordable nutrition. And most people take, well, as we talk about spirulina, you'll find out that it's an energizing algae. It gives you physical energy. It generates more cellular energy. It improves your focus and your mental energy, which is why we call it energy bits. And so most people, and it satisfies your hunger. It's also 0 carbs, so it's great for intermittent fasting. It's ketogenic. So most people are tired and hungry during the morning and the afternoon before a workout or the 2 o'clock slump or even for lunch. So this is kind of like your daytime algae, spirulina, and we call ours energy bits because that's when you want energy. And chlorella, and again, we'll get into this in greater detail. This pulls out toxins, all heavy metals, lead, mercury, radiation, aluminum, alcohol, pesticides, lactic acid, and it is a healing algae. It helps your cells regenerate. And because your body goes through a detox repair cycle when you're sleeping, we generally recommend the chlorella before bed. You can take it any time of day if you want, but certainly after a workout, after drinking, after meals, because it helps with digestion and elimination. It has fiber, so it helps with your gut biome. So this is really an evening algae. But same thing, if you took 10 tablets a day for your immune health, that would cost you $1 a day. So now for $2 a day, you can get the nourishment and energy and focus and mitochondrial support that you need and aren't getting because some of the nutrients in here aren't found in any other food in the entire universe. And you can get all the immune building, detoxing, digestion, elimination benefits, and it also helps with the sleep from the chlorella. And I say we'll go into more detail later on. And also, it replaces other things. Spirulina has so many nutrients in it. It can replace a fish oil, a collagen powder, because it has more collagen than collagen powder, a biotin, a CoQ10, and a few other vegetables, or nutrients or supplements. So it saves you money and time, and it saves the clutter on your countertop. I tell people taking supplements are like listening to individual soloists, which can be fine. However, you don't get the synergies that you get from an orchestra, like the Boston Symphony Orchestra, where I used to live. Algae gives you the orchestra, all the harmonies, all the synergies, all the up-leveling, all the cross-marketing, up-leveling, whether it's with enzymes or coenzymes or factors or cofactors, they're all there. So it's much more efficient nutrition than taking individual supplements. So, and for $1 a day, you'll get what you need. And if you have a health condition, as I said, we encourage you to take 30. But remember, this is food. It's not a drug. It's not prescription. It's not a supplement. So you may take it because you want energy for the day, but you're going to find your skin clears up, your digestion improves, your sleep improves, depending on what you're taking. Your mental health improves, your hair gets better. This is all my hair. I don't take any Botox. This is all my skin. And I'll be 70. That's 70 next year. So sample size of 1, this stuff works. And it's very affordable. We'll maybe have a chance to talk about it later on, but when people ask me, well, what are my main sort of biohacks or things that I follow myself or that you have found work best to help people with their longevity and health? And almost all of them are either free or very affordable. And they're things like sleep. Sleep doesn't cost you anything. Movement doesn't cost you anything. Go for a walk. Breath. water, and those are all free. And algae at $1 a day, it's almost as free. You can't even buy a coffee for $3. So you can nourish your body efficiently, effectively, and very quickly with very concentrated food with these little tiny tablets. And they're, like I said, they're good for children, pets, grandparents, teenagers. You can swallow them, chew them, put them in a smoothie, put them in a trail mix. Kids love them because they turn their tongue green like mine. I just chewed one. So it's good for the family. No drug interactions, nothing, not a single negative outcome of using algae, spirulina, or chlorella after 75 years.
That's awesome. So now you consume how many of those tablets per day?
Well, I do eat food. Just people say, "Is that all you live on?" I do intermittent fasting pretty regularly. So I'll intermittent fast. I'll have my tea and the spirulina and chlorella. I like to take both in the morning, and up till about maybe 1 or 2 o'clock, and then I'll probably have either a big lunch or a light lunch, and then if I have a light lunch, I'll have dinner, and if I have a big lunch, I'll have just a very light something in the evening. So I'm down to 1.5 meals. So I end up consuming probably about 100 a day, and I have had that much every day for 15, 16 years. They're really easy to travel with. They come in individual little pouches that you can throw in your gym bag or your travel bag. I'm just looking for some here. Like there's 30 tablets in a pouch, and they also come in canisters for your countertop. And then the canisters come with a bag inside, and they have a nice little opening that you can just shake the tablets out. And then you refill the canister with the bag. With so much science backing up all of the various benefits of spirulina and chlorella, and I personally have recorded 200 teaching videos. They're only like about a minute and a half. And I've written lots of papers, and I speak all over the country, mostly about mitochondrial health, because ultimately that's what determines your longevity and your ability to stay mobile mentally and physically. And the nutrients found in spirulina and chlorella are unique and help you accomplish that with no fanfare, no drama. There's no drama with algae. In fact, even though spirulina does give you energy, it's energy at the cellular level. It's not a stimulant. Stimulants are like caffeine chemicals or sugar, and you get a burst of energy and then a crash. It's sort of like putting paper on a fire. Spirulina has nutrients in here that go straight to the mitochondria, which generate all of your energy, your cellular energy. And so it's at the cellular level. No burst, no drama, no crash. It's like putting a log on the fire. And we'll talk about how critical these mitochondria are and for generating ATP, because your body can't store ATP. So whatever you're doing in the moment, if you took 30, let's say you took 20 spirulina tablets, and then you went to do a workout, you would have the best workout. Whether you're running, you'll run further or longer, and you won't even notice it. If you're lifting weights, you'll lift more or lift longer, and you won't even notice it, because it's at the cellular level. If you just take the 20 tablets and you sit on the sofa, you might not feel much, except you'll be more awake, you'll be more alert. Maybe you'll find that movie on Netflix that you actually really want to watch. Or if you're a brain surgeon or driving a truck, you'll just have more focus. And that's pretty sweet, because as you get older, we'll talk about this later on, your mitochondria get damaged and they die. And since they generate cellular energy, and since your brain has the most mitochondria per cell, 2 million per cell in your brain, the first thing that goes for people as they get older is their focus, is their ability to have really great brain power. And it's like having the lights go out in your building. In a building, you can't do any work if you don't have any lights on. Well, in your body, your mitochondria are your lights. They're also your electricity. So as you get older, and you'll find out why in a minute, your mitochondria get damaged, and it's like having the lights go out in your building, and they go out in your brain too. But the good thing is we can turn them back on, but we have to get your mitochondria functioning again. And it works with this nutrient called superoxide dismutase that's only found in spirulina and lesser to extent in chlorella. Nowhere else in the entire universe has superoxide dismutase. So I feel like I'm like Santa. I've got this great stuff that is proven in 25,000 studies to protect you and help you, but nobody knows that you can find it in algae, but only if it has not been exposed to high heat. That's the kicker.
So I buy from iHerb the Nutrex Hawaiian spirulina. Is that heat treated?
I honestly don't know, but I will tell you, Hawaiian, and I never beat up on any other brand, but remember I said growing algae is like growing wine. And just like wine, it's affected by the angle of the sun as well as the production processes. And for whatever reason, Taiwan has the most concentrated nutrition of any algae. And part of it's because of the location and the angle of the sun. By the way, I plan to grow it here in Florida because I drew a line across the globe from Taiwan and got to Florida. Florida has exactly the same climate as Taiwan. So the spirulina from, and I've tried pretty much everybody's algae, it's just milder. It doesn't have the same pop that you get from ours. And I attribute that to partly the angle of the sun and also partly the production processes that we use so carefully. Mother Nature created algae for us, so I can't take credit for algae. I can take credit for making sure that it's the highest quality that allows us to preserve the nutrients so that you get the maximum value. So I can't say anything negative about Nutrex. I just know that Hawaii doesn't seem to have the same level of concentrated sun power that you
Got
get
it.
from algae
Now,
grown in
I'm curious,
Taiwan.
why aren't you selling on sites like iHerb?
We're really medical grade algae because of the high quality, as I explained, and and that means also we're higher priced, and we also do things like do third party lab tests here in the U.S. So we've done everything we can. We only sell through our website or through doctors' offices, longevity clinics, biohacking clinics, spas, and we're hand selecting what we feel are the sort of high end, high value add, high quality. We only want to be on really, really high quality websites because we're really the gold standard for quality, and we're not trying to just be everywhere. We're preserving, we want to be where more help is provided to the consumer when they're making their purchase, and you get that from concierge medical services or biohacking clinics or longevity clinics. So we haven't reached out to them, I don't think, because it's not really, we're not even interested in Whole Foods. It's just, we're a different kind of brand. We're really like I said, a medical grade product, and we make no apologies for that. And so if people are looking for that high quality, high integrity, lab proven, third party lab proven benefits, that's us. We're not looking for a
Yeah,
mass
understood. Okay.
reach.
So let's go into some of the science around, and also just for our listener who's not that, geeky. Also, we want to be accessible. So explain, please, for our listener, mitochondrial health, why the mitochondria is so important to our energy and our longevity and our overall health and immune system and all that. And then how ATP production and the aging process, how this all kind of fits together.
Yeah, great question. I'm glad you asked it and I was in the same boat as some of your listeners who don't know anything about mitochondria. I knew nothing about mitochondria. I knew nothing about how my body worked, and most of us don't. We know how our phone works, we know how our car works, but most of us are. It's all a big mystery, and when it becomes a mystery, it can also be very frightening. And so you may default to maybe taking prescription drugs to get once you have a health situation. And so what I'm going to try to do is help you understand a little bit how your body works and why the mitochondria are so important, what they are, and why we want to always eat and do anything to keep our mitochondria healthy. Because when you keep them healthy, they're going to keep you healthy. So a little science lesson. In your cells, all of your mitochondria are found in all of your cells, with the exception of your blood, actually. And so in your cells, you have a bunch of stuff. You have your nucleus, and you have these little peanut-shaped things that are your mitochondria. Now, again, remember, your mitochondria are what generate what's called cellular energy, also known as ATP. And when I talk about cellular energy, we're not talking about just energy to run to the grocery store or have a great run. This is what your body needs to function on all levels. It's your neurotransmitters in your brain. It's your lymphatic system. It's your heartbeat, your lungs, your digestion, your elimination. Everything requires energy. And if you don't have enough energy, nothing in your body works very well. The way I describe it is like, let's say you had a dinner party and you forgot to get dessert. So you had like one cookie and you shared one cookie with all your guests and they got one bite. Well, they're not going to be terribly happy. Well, when you don't have enough cellular energy being generated, and this happens at the marker is like starts dropping at 30, 40, and by 50, it's pretty significant. You lose a lot of mitochondria, and I'll tell you why. So the ones that you have, they are struggling, and many cases they're damaged anyway. So there's not enough energy for any part of your body to function optimally. It's like having that one cookie that all of your guests have to share. So this is why you have difficulty recovering from any illness, or why maybe you're more susceptible to illness. So that's what's going on. Your mitochondria after the age of 30, and by the way, they start declining at 30. You start seeing loss in your muscle, in your skin. So you don't have to be 40 or 50, although that's when most chronic conditions kick in. The damage starts at 30. So what's going on? Well, your mitochondria, as I mentioned, they generate this cellular energy. And but the problem is your mitochondria have their own DNA. Remember, I pointed out the DNA in your cell. That's your nuclear DNA. Your mitochondria have their own DNA, and it's located exactly inside where all that cellular energy is being produced, which is called ATP. What people don't know is that a byproduct of ATP are free radicals. We all know that, or maybe you don't know, but a free radical is a molecule that has an unpaired electron. And so Mother Nature loves balance. And so that unpaired electron, that molecule will steal another electron from a neighboring molecule to balance itself out. But then that leaves that molecule with one unpaired electron. And so this is how tissue damage occurs. Now, the good news is there's these things called antioxidants, and they have extra electrons that they give away to things like free radicals to neutralize them so they don't have to steal from each other. Sort of like the kid who comes to school with extra lunches for his friends. So antioxidants are generally the way to remove and reduce the damage of free radicals. The problem is your mitochondria are the only cell in your body. You can't really see so much from this picture. I'll show you another picture. Your mitochondria are the only cell in your body that have two membranes. They have the regular membrane, which is a lipid membrane that all of your cells have, but your mitochondria have this second inner membrane, and virtually no antioxidants can get in there. So even though you have all these free radicals being released as a byproduct of ATP, which are damaging the DNA of your mitochondria, which causes the mitochondria to die, there's no antioxidants can get in there except a handful. And the few that can get in there include chlorophyll. Algae has the highest chlorophyll in the world. Glutathione. Algae has the highest glutathione in the world. And this fabulous one that's not available anywhere else in the entire food world universe called superoxide dismutase, also known as SOD. Those antioxidants can get into this inner membrane and neutralize the free radicals so that they don't damage the mitochondria. This saves your mitochondria. This allows your mitochondria to grow again. This allows your mitochondria to generate cellular energy again, so that things in your body, whether they were on a downhill spiral, can reverse, because your mitochondria, just like all of your other cells, can and will grow back given the correct conditions. Now, I'm going to get a little geekier to tell you exactly what happens when the mitochondria get damaged and why this thing called superoxide dismutase, and also another nutrient found in spirulina, which is the blue pigment called phycocyanin, that's spelled with a PH, are so critical for your mitochondria health. So let's go back to that little picture of the mitochondria with that inner membrane, okay? So in that inner membrane, the actual cellular energy is created through something called the electron transport chain. And if you've ever seen a relay race, there's a runner who passes a baton to the next runner, and then that next runner runs with the baton and they try to cross the finish line. Well, it's sort of similar the way that your ATP cellular energy is created, except instead of having runners, you have these molecules, okay? And instead of passing a baton, they pass electrons. So the way to make your electron transport chain work efficiently is to keep these molecules, like the runners, close to one another so they can pass the electrons, which means you get efficient ATP being produced at the end. And by the way, there's this little helper molecule called cytochrome C, and we'll talk about that in a minute, because the blue pigment in spirulina speeds up that cytochrome C molecule, which is the helper molecule, to speed up the passage of those electrons, which is one of the reasons why spirulina gives you energy, because it has that blue helper molecule, the pigment that helps the helper molecule. So that's how it's supposed to work. When you have a healthy mitochondria, those little molecules, the little runners, are close to one another. They can pass the baton, which they are the electrons, and you generate rapid and consistent and effective ATP. So this is another picture of those molecules in the electron transportation. See how tightly close they are? So this is a healthy mitochondria, really close so they can pass the electrons. Here's that diagram again. Here's a picture of a damaged mitochondria. Because when you have a damaged mitochondria, what happens is it expands. Two things happen. Now those molecules that are trying to pass the electrons from one another are further apart from one another. So it's like the runner in that relay race can't make the pass. So it's like effectively dropping the baton. So the electrons get dropped. So what happens? You can't finish the race. So you don't get as much ATP because they have not completed the circuit. That's number one. Number two, those electrons that get dropped don't disappear. They leak out into the rest of the mitochondria, where they become, drumroll, free radicals. What does that do? Causes more damage to the mitochondria, which causes it to expand even more, which makes it even more difficult to generate ATP because they're further and further apart from other. Eventually, the mitochondria explodes. That's called necrosis. And that's and then all of those free radicals bleed out to the rest of to the cell and damage the rest of the cell, damage the rest of the mitochondria. There's less oxygen. They become acidic, yada, yada, yada. So here's a picture of a healthy molecule, healthy mitochondria, and a damaged one. So see all that big blank spaces? That's where those molecules have been leaked out and caused damage. So the key is to stop that damage. And the most important way to do that is with a antioxidant called superoxide dismutase. Now, why is this so important? Well, those free radicals that you see leaking out, they're a very special type of free radical. They're called superoxide. And they are the most damaging free radical in your entire body. What makes them so damaging? Remember I said a free radical usually has one unpaired electron? Superoxide has 3 unpaired electrons, so it's 3 times as damaging. And this stuff called superoxide dismutase, also known as SOD, is made for you from the moment you're born. Just like your body makes you hormones, it makes you melatonin. You got a treasure trove of things that help your body function properly, including superoxide dismutase. However, at the age of 30, the production of your superoxide dismutase starts slowing down, just like for women, hormones, estrogen, melatonin slows down. By 40, you have virtually no superoxide dismutase any longer. So all that the protection that it offered you until the age of 40 is gone. And by 50, you're in trouble. And this is exactly when disease kicks in. And I believe it's because this is exactly when your body stops producing superoxide dismutase. So now your mitochondria are bombarded with free radicals. They're killing the mitochondria. They're damaging the mitochondria. Whatever cellular energy you have is diminished significantly, and it just keeps plummeting, particularly in your brain. This is why Alzheimer's, dementia, forgetfulness, depression for women, because your brain has the most mitochondria. So when the damage occurs, the first thing to go is your brain. Now, most scientists don't know that spirulina has the highest concentration of superoxide dismutase in the world. And what it does is, just so you know, it converts those free radicals into harmless water and oxygen. It's like having a big golf umbrella. You know, if you've been out on a big rainstorm, whether you golf or not, you pop open that big golf umbrella, you could get 5 people under there. You haven't stopped the rain, but you stopped getting wet. So with superoxide dismutase, it does not stop the free radicals. They're a natural byproduct of ATP production. But what they do is they stop the damage of the free radicals by turning them into water, and oxygen. But when you're 40 and 50, that protection is gone. And so even though the free radicals have always been there, they are no longer being removed. And also one of the things that keeps your cells healthy is keeping them alkaline, and oxygen and water help do that. So that's why when you have an alkaline diet, and algae is the most alkaline food in the world, A, you are protecting your mitochondria, B, you're making your ATP production more efficient, and C, you're keeping disease out of the cell for a number of reasons. So it's pretty powerful. Now, as I mentioned, superoxide dismutase is an enzyme. It's an antioxidant, but it's also an enzyme. So if you get the lesser expensive algae, I can promise you they used high heat to dry it to get to market quickly. We don't use high heat, so our superoxide dismutase works and is effective, and we can go on. I can tell you some anecdotal as well as some scientific benefit proof of how this works. But it's very, very effective and I recommend spirulina. Chlorella does have superoxide dismutase. It has about 2/3 less. So spirulina is really your mitochondria health algae. That's why I call it your brain food as well, because your brain has the most mitochondria. But I recommend the spirulina because the higher superoxide dismutase, and also spirulina is what's called a cyanobacteria. It's not even a plant; it's a bacteria. So why that's important is that there's nothing for your body to break down to get access to the superoxide dismutase or the other nutrients. So it's absorbed instantly and goes where it needs to go, which is to your mitochondria and every other part of your body.
Yeah.
So it's
now you mentioned
pretty amazing
cytochrome
stuff.
C earlier. What did you want to share about that specifically?
Yeah. Well, this is the other reason why I love spirulina so much. It has a blue pigment. Spirulina is known as a blue-green algae. Chlorella is known as a green algae. That's because chlorella only has one pigment called chlorophyll, which is why it's called chlorella, because of the high chlorophyll. Spirulina has two pigments, chlorophyll, but it also has the blue one, which is called phycocyanin. And I'm going to spell it for you. It's phycocyanin, phycocyanin. Now, this phycocyanin does not exist anywhere else in nature. It's way better than methylene blue. Methylene blue is on everyone's hit list these days, and that's fine. It's good stuff. But this makes methylene blue look like a warm-up act. By the way, methylene blue is produced and phycocyanin is natural. So what's so special about phycocyanin? Well, remember that picture I showed you with the little helper molecule of cytochrome C? Well, in a healthy cell, phycocyanin speeds up that cytochrome C molecule. This is one of the reasons why spirulina gives you energy. It's like having a Tesla. This is another sort of graphic. It's like having a Tesla speeding up the process of those electrons so that you can get more ATP energy. So that's what happens in a healthy cell. But in an unhealthy cell, the blue pigment, phycocyanin, detects that it's an unhealthy cell. That would be a cancer cell or what's called a senescent cell, which is a cell that's subdivided so much that it's really dead inside, but it won't kill itself. So in an unhealthy cell, the phycocyanin knows that it's a cancer or a senescent cell, and instead of speeding up the cytochrome C molecule, it ejects it, which triggers something called capases, which triggers something called apoptosis, which is known as healthy cell death. Now, the interesting thing about cancer cells is that they don't know they're sick. You have a process called apoptosis, or autophagy is cleaning of the cell, and apoptosis is healthy cell death. It's sort of like when someone's worked at a company for 50 years and it's time to retire. They know it's time to retire, so they give all their great projects to all the next generation and wish them well, and they exit. Well, in a healthy cell, if the cell is healthy and it's been around for a while and it knows it's time to go, it goes through this apoptosis process, which is programmed cell death. And basically it divides itself up into many little cells. There's no inflammation. All the good DNA, all the good stuff is handed out to become new cells, and it takes a retirement. That's how healthy cells kill themselves. Unhealthy cells, like cancer cells, are not aware that they're unhealthy, and so they cannot go through this process called apoptosis, which is healthy cell death. So the fact that this blue phycocyanin can trigger apoptosis, which kills cancer cells, and the cancer chemotherapy companies put phycocyanin in many of their chemotherapy treatments, and they measure whether the chemotherapy is working by how much cytochrome C molecule is in your plasma, because they know that shows that the cell has died. So this is why I call spirulina intelligent food. You have to be intelligent to take it, and it knows what to do in your body. If you have a healthy cell, it speeds up your ATP cellular production. Pretty cool. If it's an unhealthy cell, it says, you're out of here. That's pretty cool too. But once again, phycocyanin, and I have the scientific papers that prove it, is deactivated and down by high heat. So you need to be sure you're getting spirulina that has not been exposed to high heat. There's a significant drop off after it's been heated with 114 degrees. You could get frozen spirulina or fresh spirulina because they also have not been exposed to high heat. But or ours, or if there's some other high quality algae companies out there. But I just know what we do, and when I started the company, I just wanted to help my sister get better, and then I thought, well, I can help more people, and so I've learned so much more about the science now than I knew when we first started. But because I built the company just to be helpful to people, and I knew the enzymes were important. I didn't realize how important, or this one called superoxide dismutase was literally a game changer for people. So I'm proud that we took the high road every step along the way, and we always will. So I can only talk about what we do and can assure the quality to people. And if you had any doubt about that phycocyanin, here's an actual lab test. They dyed cancer cells purple in a petri dish, and then they put phycocyanin in the petri dish, and then over 24 hours they took pictures. And I can send you this scientific paper where this report was held, and you can see that the cancer cells literally disappeared after 24 hours.
Yeah, that's great. So that actually brings me to another question, and that is, how would somebody treat themselves as a science experiment? And because there's so many biohacks out there, you could do red light therapy, you could do cold plunges, all these different supplementations and the wearables and everything, right? And yet you're not sure which thing worked and which didn't. How do you know, do I need to spend a lot of money and get myself a hyperbaric chamber, do hyperbaric oxygen therapy, or do I need to spend just a few dollars and get some of these little tablets?
Yeah. Well, and we work with so many of the biohacking companies, and I think very highly of them. But not everyone can afford a hyperbaric chamber, or a sauna, or a cold plunge, or they don't have the time to go to the clinics where those services are offered. And it's a trip there and a trip back, and it's inconvenient. But for hyperbaric, or let's say cold plunges or cryotherapy, these work really, really well. So in cryo or a cold plunge, your body thinks it's dying because it's exposed to cold. So all the blood rushes to the core of your body. So if you've taken spirulina before you do the cold plunge, 10, 15, 20, 30, as much as you like, while the blood is in your core, it's nourishing your organs, it's nourishing everything really well. And then when you step out, it's also a vasodilator. So it takes all of that great blood flow out to your extremities and carries all these great nutrients. So it's a great pre-work hack to take, whether it's red light, sauna, cold plunge, hyperbaric, anything. And then after you step out, then you want the chlorella, because chlorella acts as the cleanup crew. As I said, it pulls out toxins, heavy metals, glyphosate, pesticides, anything that shouldn't be there, alcohol, lactic acid. And when you are killing cells, whether you go through autophagy or apoptosis, there's junk that is released. Or if you're on GLP-1 or you're losing weight because your body stores most of your toxins in your fat, you definitely need to be taking this after a hack or any kind of sport or before bed, because you don't want those toxins circulating around. Taking chlorella every day is like giving your body a shower from the inside. And also it stimulates what's called peristalsis, which is known as the bowel movement. Spirulina does not do that. This is this is nourishment in, this is toxins and junk out. I say you got to get rid of that junk in your trunk, because it sits in your colon. This is why colon cancer is on a rise right now. So many people are eating processed foods, or they're stressed, and or they're eating too much dairy, or and so that causes constipation. So this gives you fiber for your gut biome, and it stimulates peristalsis. Does everything that vegetables should do. But if you don't like vegetables, you don't have access to them, this is a much more efficient, faster way to get the same results. So whether you're doing it at a biohack or on your own, the spirulina before anything, this, because it gets absorbed so quickly because it's a bacteria, but definitely take the chlorella afterwards, because it will eliminate anything that has been released so it doesn't get reabsorbed. If you don't get rid of what I call, again, the junk in your trunk, it's like having a garbage truck parked in front of your house permanently.
Yeah, but what would be some of the symptoms or some of the chronic things that would maybe ameliorate from taking your energy bits?
Oh gosh. Yeah. Well, we've done a number of clinical trials ourselves for Alzheimer's, post-traumatic stress disorder, brain health. There's a great book by Dr. Chris Palmer called Brain Energy, and it came out a couple of years ago. And he talks about how every single mental health condition ultimately stems from damaged mitochondria. And so if we can improve your mitochondria, you will improve your focus, dementia, Alzheimer's, and you don't have to wait long. I mean, we've had customers write us who had Alzheimer's. They couldn't figure out how to work their microwave. They couldn't remember their home address. And within 24 hours, their brain was functioning again. So if you have kids on the spectrum, autism, their focus improves, and you do not have to wait long, maybe a day. And by the way, give kids, if you were thinking like adults would take anywhere from 15 or 10 to 30, give children one or a half of one of their age. So if they're 10, give them 5 to 10 a day. If they're 12, give them 6 to 12 a day until they can get up to the 15 or adult portion. And then keep them taking it every single day. This stuff is replacing food. It replaces supplements. Your grocery bill will go down. Speaking of which, we had a woman who was 87 who wrote us and said, and we don't ask for these testimonials, by the way, they just come to us. She had very low energy. She was sleeping 12 hours. She couldn't sleep. She was only sleeping like at 1 hour intervals. She was incontinent. So she started taking both of them. And within a week, she said she was now sleeping through the evening. She was no longer incontinent. She had so much energy. She was only eating one meal a day. Her grocery bill had gone down. And she said, and today, for example, I got up at 6. I went for a 3-mile walk. Took my great-grandson to school. I visited a friend at nursing home. I came home, cleaned out my garage, and started painting my kitchen. And at 5 o'clock, I had dinner. Oh, and by the way, I joined CrossFit. 87, right? You gotta love these stories. We have had people send us their lab tests where they were given 2 weeks to live, literally, and they started taking high dosage of both of the algae. Then they would send us weeks of their numbers going down, and until the cancer was completely gone. Now, again, announcement: I am not a medical professional. I do not want you to not pay attention to your medical professional's advice. I'm just telling you that I'm sharing information that I have read through science, and that I've learned anecdotally about. There are other things that you can also do, and it's food. So it's not like you're going to hurt yourself. You're just going to, warning, you may feel better. You may live longer. It will add so much in so many ways, and you don't have to change anything else if you don't want to. Just start taking it, because we can't help you if I can't get it into your body. You may take it for energy, but you'll find that, as I mentioned, maybe your sleep improves, or maybe you'll take it for your mitochondrial health, but you'll find that your biomarkers. Lots of people, they want to know for sure, so they get some blood tests or maybe bone tests. They want to know whether it's building their bones. Yes, it does. Your bones are actually stronger by increasing protein and your minerals. It's not calcium, it's minerals. Calcium actually makes your bones brittle, but it's where calcium is stored. So lots of people do their tests. Then they start taking if they're trying to correct a condition, again, it's the 30 a day. And then they go and have some blood tests done, or another scan. And 100% of the time they see improvements. I've had some tests done, and my biological age is 30, and my chronological age is almost, well, soon to be 70.
Congratulations on that. That's awesome. All right. Well, I know we're out of time, so if you just want to share your website and if you're active on any particular social platforms, what that would be, and where they can learn more from you and buy your product.
Absolutely. Well, our website is energybits.com, ENERGYBITS. And the discount code for 20% off anything. We actually have two Spirulina brands. One's called Energy Bits, and we found women didn't like the blue packaging, so we made a second one called Beauty Bits. They're exactly the same. Chlorella is the detoxing algae. And then we have a fourth brand called Vitality Bits, which is a blend of the two tablets, two types of algae. So everything, whatever size you get, it all works, not on subscriptions, just on the single purchases. So that's Get Optimized at energybits.com. Now, I will say, I just do want to mention, there's not a single contraindication or negative of any kind with spirulina. Newborns, children, every single pets, everybody can take spirulina. Now, chlorella is a detoxing algae. And sometimes you might have some detox effects, which could include anything like headaches or breakouts or maybe some stomach distress. And it won't last forever, but it does occur. Now, if you have any concern about that, I would encourage you to just go to Amazon, buy a single pouch of 30 tablets. They're only $6. Make sure you're okay with it, and then come back to the website, because you'll get a much better value when you buy them from our website using your Get Optimized discount code. And remember, each bag has the same nutrition as 551 pounds of vegetables. And if you took 10 a day, it would only cost you $1 a day. We're also very active on social media, Instagram, Facebook. Our handle is @EnergyBits, so it's pretty easy to remember. And we write a full blog every month. We have a very active customer care team. We love answering questions. We're just here to really help people. And I'd like to leave you with this one thought. Think about 10, 15 years ago, you didn't know about collagen powder, probably didn't know about bone broth or quinoa or a lot of these other nutrients and food groups that have existed for centuries in other countries. Well, the same thing with algae. It's a multi-billion-dollar agricultural crop in Asia. It's as big as the beef industry is here. You just don't know about it because it's not grown here. And until I started doing this, nobody told you about it or what it does for you at a nutritional healing level. So algae isn't new. It's just new to you. And I wrote this little booklet called The Algae Love Story. I think we provide it now on our website, just to help you understand, algae has been around for 4 billion years. It's just like love. It will love your body back to health. And so try not to think of it as pond scum. It's just something that you have not experienced or known about. And so we're here to help you learn about it so that you can benefit from it. Because it's going to save the world.
Awesome.
I'm convinced.
Well, thank you for doing your part to help save the world, Catharine. And thank you, listener, for being a part of the tribe and saving the world with your tribes as well. We'll catch you in the next episode, and have a great week. Make it a great week. I'm your host, Stephan Spencer, signing off.
If you want to hear more conversations like this on cellular optimization, then I recommend episode 489 with Carolyn Allen, episode 505 with Kyle Pesci, and episode 508 with Yuraj Kurkar. Also, I invite you to check out the show notes, transcript, action-based checklist, and all the URLs mentioned in this interview with Catharine Arnston at getyourselfoptimized.com/519. If you enjoyed the conversation, I encourage you to share this episode, and more importantly, the entire show Get Yourself Optimized, with a friend. Change your life and help me spread the light. Thank you. Thanks for listening to Get Yourself Optimized. Nearly a decade ago, I started a journey that completely transformed my personal life and my business. Now I'm taking on a very select number of high-caliber coaching clients and personally helping them optimize their lives. I have limited spots, so if you're interested, go now to getyourselfoptimized.com and apply for one-on-one coaching or for our high-level mastermind. By the way, if you have any questions or comments whatsoever, email me at host@getyourselfoptimized.com. See you next week.